So if you're anything like me and you were lured in to the idea of Hasselblad clones, then you're in the right place, because today we're going to take a look at how you can load and use the Kiev 88 or the Salyut-C type cameras. So the Salyut-C or Salyut-S camera is what I have here, but also known as the Kiev 88. This camera is a clone of the Hasselblad 1600, and it is a really cool camera, a modular system camera, as you would expect from the early Hasselblad cameras. They come equipped with a waist level finder, so you're able to compose in that way. They have, interestingly enough too, removable backs, so that you're able to have multiple backs with, say, color film in one and maybe black and white in another, and then you're just able to easily drop that back on and you're away. But the finders are also replaceable on top. I have a prism finder, and then lest we forget that you can also switch out the lenses on these cameras. So there's a lot of customization that you can have with these cameras, but they are notoriously difficult to use and also have, especially for the Kiev 88 cameras, some quality issues. So today we're going to look at how you can care for this camera and how you can take some great photos with it. And here we are, the Salyut-S. A fantastic camera. I just love the look of this thing. I think the Hasselblad style camera is so iconic. It really just has such a style to it, especially for film. And once it's wound, you're able to look through your finder, take out your dark slide, and take your photo, just like that. But as you can probably tell, this camera is perhaps not for the faint of heart. This is, I would say, a collector, but also a recreational medium format film camera. Overall, though, it's a bit of a bear, and some people have a good deal of animosity that they harbor toward these cameras because they're not always the most reliable. They can have quality issues, especially for the later cameras. But let's take a look at this. Let's see how we can care for it, and let's see how we can get some great photos with it. So I'm going to start by breaking this camera down into its component parts, just so you can see like literally what it's made of. So first of all, as I said, let's take off the lens. This is a Vega 12B. The B on these, which is the Cyrillic letter that is a V sound in English, the V. So really, you might hear this called the Vega 12V, because B with a similar looking letter, the Russian and Cyrillic letter B, that indicates like the Pentagon 6 mount lenses. So if you're looking for lenses for these cameras, make sure that it has the English letter B and not the Cyrillic letter B, which is a bit more squared off. This is an f2.8 90mm lens, which is roughly equivalent to like a normal lens, so like a 50-ish sort of lens. These lenses have an automatic stop down that you can see here, and we'll look at that more in a bit, but it's just a small little pin here in the back of the lens. Besides that, like what I said, we have a removable film back, so we're able to load multiple of those if you have them, and our waist level finder. We take that off, and then we can look at it and say, wait a second, this is the camera. That's it. It's just a strange little square, a little cube. These cameras have this foil shutter, which is very unique. I've never seen anything like that on another camera. And I think that is probably for good reason. First of all, this metal, as you can tell, is reflective. And so I have had artifacting in a really strange way before, where this has appeared on photos, especially when it's really, really bright outside. It's not ideal in that regard. So I think this is, the Hasselblads originally were more studio cameras than they were like walking around cameras. They're meant for use in the studio, especially with flash or whatever. So when I've been out and using this in like very heavy, bright, direct sunlight and have gotten flaring off this. That was probably not the intentional use of this type of camera. But again, this is a ripoff of a very early Hasselblad design, in fact, the first one. And so that's why this sort of design was not taken forward from there. But as you can see inside, it's a very simple by, sight machine. Now, when you wind this camera, this is a very, very critical thing to know. When you wind this camera, you need to wind before you change the shutter speed. That is like Soviet camera 101. But beyond that, the manual also recommends winding in sort of one movement. So don't sit here and crank it. That can like cause the shutter to get stuck and to get jammed. And also what you don't want to do is you have to pull this out and twist to change the shutter speed. And so when you're winding it, if you are winding bit by bit, you might accidentally pull out a little bit, and then that will cause it to change the shutter and wind while you're like on a different shutter speed, and you will ruin your shutter. So this is the strangest sort of shutter wind that I have for any camera. I like prep it in my hand like this, press in, and twist all in one sort of fell swoop. And in doing so, you'll see the mirror has come down now. There's a mirror that comes up into the prism. And let's set this just for fun. Now that we have this, we'll pull out, we'll set this to half a second. I sometimes give this a press and a shake to make sure that it's not loose before I go pulling the shutter. So, all right, well, let's take a look inside and watch how this magic happens. And that is the shutter. You probably heard it's a whole cacophony inside of this thing. There's a fan inside that's used for sort of slowing the speed of the shutter, which is just the most fascinating design, but again, was not really duplicated from there. So here again, we can put on our film back, and you'll notice that there's a dark slide on the film back so that you're able to, when you're taking this on and off, insert the dark slide. It's actually locked with the dark slide, so you can't take it off. If I take the dark slide off, I'm physically incapable of removing the back. You need to put the dark slide in for it to unlock the back. That way you can't accidentally expose your film. And once your dark slide's in, then it comes right off. Now my camera is an interesting hodgepodge. This film back says it's from 1988, which means it's a Kiev 88. This camera itself, the Salyut-C, says it's from 1979. My Vega looks like it's from 1980 according to the serial number. And of course, as I mentioned, I also have my prism finder, so let's look at how you put that on. What you have to do is break everything down, and then you can slide your prism finder in on the rail where you had your waist level finder. It's not always the easiest going though, so you'll have to give me a moment here. There we are. And be sure to not press on the metal shutter. It is highly, highly fragile. And once you have that on, you can replace your film back. And there's two little lips at the bottom of the film back you'll see that fit into those grooves. So I was struggling to find those for a second, but there we go. And like, let's say we put our lens back on. Now we're ready to shoot with the prism finder, and that thing is massive, right? It is a TTL prism on this, so I'm able to use the exposure and light meter on top. The accuracy of it is maybe a little suspect, but I've gotten good photos, which means I think it's good. So something you'll want to note, these little windows here are red. That means that the shot has been exposed. So if I wind the camera on again, you'll see now they're white. This is telling us that we have a shot ready to go. So what we would do is we'd have to take out our dark slide, and then we can press our shutter button here. And that just took another half-second exposure. Likewise, on the other side here, we have the lens release button. So when you press that, then you can release. I have to put my dark slide back in if I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to take the prism finder off though, because this is for such a close shot, the prism finder is taking up half of my camera real estate here. So we'll go back to the waist level. But yes, just be careful when you're bringing stuff on and off of this, that you're not pressing on the foil shutter at all. I like to use the rails alongside of it to sort of bolster my hands. But that one slides on a lot easier. That's the basic gist of how this camera works. The major cautions, as I said, are number one, do not ever, ever, ever change the shutter speed unless you've wound it. That is a huge thing. The second is that you do not want to take your lens off after you've wound it, because there is a small little plunger here which pops out to activate the automatic stop down. So if you have your lens on, wind, and then take your lens off, you'll probably break that little arm that's coming out that's engaging that plunger, or sorry, yeah, that's engaging that auto stop down. Something else that you don't want to do is mismatch red and white windows. If you wind this and then take the back off and then fire the camera or do any sort of like intermediate step there where these are not matched up as white and white or red and red, you might find yourself in a bit of trouble. Like I said before, again, winding the shutter in one smooth motion, gentle but like confident motion is helpful for me. So press in to keep it from popping out, sort of resting it and twisting it all in one fell swoop has been good for me. The Kiev 88 cameras are known for having a bit more issues. The Salyut cameras and the Salyut-C cameras here, or Salyut-S, were earlier iterations, and they are generally regarded as better quality iterations of these cameras. But there's still good Kiev 88s that exist, and actually companies like Arax refurbish these and make them even better. Some of them have the Precaution 6 mounts on them so that you're able to have a wider variety of lenses beyond just the very limited Kiev bayonet mount, which with the V mount lenses. Although these are all still very nice lenses, and you know, mostly modeled on Zeiss optics, I've found these lenses to work very well, and I've been very appreciative of the quality in them. So one thing we'll do here now is I'll show you how to load a film back, because I thought this was one of the more challenging parts of using this camera. It is kind of tricky in some ways, but also like just something that you have to get used to. The other sort of medium format single lens reflex cameras like this, so you're getting into like the Mamiya cameras and other like medium format SLR cameras, they are a little easier than this. This camera is in its own way kind of complicated, and I think it's a set of steps that need to be followed to make sure that it doesn't break. And for some people that's daunting. For me, I don't know, I find following those sort of structures, I don't know, interesting. So anyway, what we're going to put in the camera today is a bit of lomography Potsdam black and white. This is 120 film, so that's the number one thing that you need to know for this camera. This is a medium format camera. It is not a 35mm camera, so it is going to take 120 film. The stuff from lomography I like a lot. I think it's really cool. I think it's unique, and especially their black and white stuff I find really good. So we have in here our roll of 120 film. And you'll notice if you're someone who shoots 35mm film, this is not very recognizable by comparison. This is something all different. This is roll film. So what we're going to do here first is look at your film back, and you'll see both sides have a little sort of circle on them, but one side has these sort of 2 arrows and 2 little levers that flip up, like so. The other side is more of a key. We're looking to use the key side. So I pulled up my dark slide there just to get it out of the way. We open that, we twist to the left, and it releases. So this is like the shell, basically. We'll set that aside. And then here we have our magazine, which again, if we're going to talk about mismatched pieces, this one looks like it has a 1993 serial number. This one has a 1988. So this camera is just the absolute Frankenstein of things, but I think it's cool. So what you need to know for a medium format camera, almost all of them do this. I can't think of one that doesn't. Your take-up spool is actually the spool that you used last in the camera. You sort of recycle your take-up spool. So I have already put this into place, but when you finish shooting, your spool is going to be on this side. It will have run out, and all you have to do is take your spool out and put it to the other side. I do that as a good hygiene thing, that I'll keep my spool in its right spot. And then you'll know it's on the right side of this because it's on with the wheel. The wheel is what's advancing the film, and so that will get on there. So from there, what we need to realize is that this from the back here is where we'll see the paper backing of the film. And this from the front, this pressure plate here, is where the emulsion side, the exposed side of the film will be. So we come in here, we open up our film gingerly. We're in, and keep pressure on the film roll so that it does not fall open, because if it falls open, you risk exposing your film, and that's not very fun. I always have to take a second to think about how I'm doing this to make sure that my paper backing is going as it's supposed to. So when I think about this here, I'm going to be dropping it in here. The paper backing is going to go this way as it loops around. So this looks to be the correct way for me to drop this in. So I'll pull up on this arm here. I'll place my film in, make sure that it's on the teeth, and that's on. So now what we're going to do is take this film out, pull it across. We can gently press down on this pressure plate. And what you're trying to do with this portion is get it under this silver little lip. Back on the other side here, we have our take-up spool, and we're going to use the knob that we were talking about before. We keep pulling this across. We place the film through the take-up spool. We twist it, and then I usually give it a pull to hold it in place, and then a twist. And sometimes this takes me a try or two to make sure that the film doesn't slip through, because there, yep, it just slipped through. So that's fine, that's no biggie. Just come back, make sure you're still under this like silver metal pressure plate. Place the film through, give it a twist, pull through, and then yeah, what you don't want to do is have too much pressure on it that it slips out from the back. That's kind of what I think I was doing here maybe a second ago. So here's the film again on the back side. I can keep some pressure there. As you can see, this is a full operation though, to make sure that it's not falling out on the other side and exposing that. But here now I've got this. Oh, no, I don't got that. It fell right out again. And that's okay, that's all part of the process here. So what I'll do is I'll take this side, I'll rewind a little bit by pulling it back. And that is totally fine because that is normal. We're never going to get this 100% of the time. It's a little tricky. And just think, this used to be a professional's camera by all senses of the word. So you are doing a professional's work here by loading this camera, or at least a professional of days long gone. So let's try so that it doesn't fall out. All right, I think, yes, there we go. We got it. It's on. It's on. What you have to do is really just get it past that first twist, and then it will be on. So you'll notice this arrow here. That arrow is usually used for aligning and saying that you're like how far you can draw this out. You can see an arrow inside too that informs how long you have until the film's wound. I usually have a little bit of extra, so I don't worry too much on that, but this is wound on. Again, the black side is facing up, the paper side is facing through the back, that we're able to view it through that little window. And what we're going to do is take our film back, gingerly place it in to this. We will twist the socket again, but now remember we had just been messing with the other side there with that knob, which fits into here. So what you want to do is have this set to the side, but the knob, we'll want to just twist it a little bit and it will seat. And that is good. This is loaded. This is ready to go. So what we do now is we take our camera here. I'll put my lens back on so I'm not like putting my finger inside of the camera or something while I do this. We'll take our camera back, our film back, put it on. We can remove our dark slide. And what I'm going to do here is not exactly what they tell you to do in the manual, but I think it works for me. So what they tell you to do in the manual is to wind the camera on and then like keep it wound on. And I don't like the idea of keeping the camera wound on, because these are old cameras and they're prone to failure. I like releasing the shutter frequently. So like if I'm going to load this and have it ready to shoot, I don't want to like load it to frame 1 and have it ready to shoot and then put it in my backpack and walk around with it. So I get it half ready, and then from there, when I'm at the site, I finish the prep for my first shot. So I'll show you how I do that. So first, let's wind the camera again, pressing in so that I don't harm the camera. Do the twist. And then what you can do now is look inside of the back here. And currently we see nothing on that. It's just white paper. But what we need to do is wind this knob until we see a number 1 up here. And you'll see the start. You can see just inside there, start coming across. Lomo has don't think, just shoot in there, which is cute. I like that. And I wind slowly. There's little arrows that come up, right? All medium format film is slightly different, but there's like a series of like commercials that basically roll before you get to your first frame. Here's dots. There's the arrows, there's the dots, and then here now frame number 1 has come in. You can see a 1 in there. That means we're good. We close this back. And to finalize, there's a film counter on here. We are going to turn this counterclockwise, opposite the direction we just did. That will reset our film counter. So shot number 1 is now in the window, ready to be used. So as we can see, both of these windows are white. This camera is ready to be used. Dark slide is out, so we can just open this and take our photo whenever we're ready. Also, don't forget there's a little magnifying glass here that easily pops out in case you're looking for some critical focus composing. But that's all for today on the Salyut-S camera, or the Kiev 88, or the Zenith 80, or any of those other strange names that this camera has gone by. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you learned something about this camera, and we'll see you next time.